Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension here in beautiful Hernando County. And with me today is my regular co-host, Lily Browning. Good morning, Lily. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. How are you? We will act like this is the first time we're seeing and talking to each other this morning.
I know. I'm doing just great.
Not that we've been on the phone since 9 o'clock.
Well, I started doing great yesterday morning when I first got up, and I wasn't freezing to death. Because for days
Yeah.
before that, I'd get up in the morning and the house was cold and my feet were cold and it was just cold. And then it would be like freezing ish, a little bit above, mostly below for hours till like 9, 10 o'clock. And then finally gets up above 32 and then up into the 40s. So,
Well, I was camping as in like glamping, as in an RV.
we glamp also.
Monday,
You don't want to rough it. When I
Monday
was a
night,
little
Tuesday.
kid in the Boy Scouts, I went camping in tents and backpacks and carrying the food and pots and pans into the woods with you.
No,
I'm not 12 years old anymore, so
thank you, Teresa. We didn't go far. We just got this mobile home. I'm sorry, it's a travel trailer. You pull it, and 28 foot, so not small but not humongous. And we did that because a lot of the national parks where we want to, start heading and stuff out west, they were built a long time ago, so they don't take um, campers over 30 feet, is what we've heard. Plus, there's only so much we want to pull down the road. We don't want to pull a single wide mobile home down the road.
yeah.
And I say we so liberally. Um, I've been told I will do some driving, which I will gladly do on the interstate. But when it comes to small roads and certainly backing into a spot, that gentleman with the CDL license that I'm traveling with is more than welcome to do that. But so it was cold, but we were in that travel trailer and it was our maiden voyage. So we did not go far. We went to Silver Lake here in Hernando County. And I have learned that, well, because it was going to get down in the 30s, we didn't know how far down. You need to put on the propane for your water pipes and all that stuff, in this mobile home. So we had put that on, and I had an electric blanket. And my husband is not a cold blooded type person. So we found out that we were too hot actually in there. But I didn't, except to take the dogs out for a short walk, it wasn't rising really early in the 30-degree weather, to go out there, but it was gorgeous during the day. So it was
Yeah.
good
Very,
practice.
very nice time of year if you catch good weather to be out RVing, hiking, camping, just walking around the block. Really, very, very nice time of year.
Hmm. Yep, and the little tiny dogs really enjoyed it. Um, I didn't walk them too close to they call it Silver Lake. It's actually part of the Withlacoochee River. It's where it widens a lot, into a
Mhm.
lake looking structure there. We walked kind of along the water, but I didn't let them get too close because they are small. And even though it was cold, don't know if there's any hungry gators out there. Back in the day, um, we used to go swimming out there. Now Monique is going to accuse me of sounding like Bernie, but at Silver Lake, which is the east side of our county in the Withlacoochee Forest, and it's right along 75, way closer than it was when I was a kid. I know 75 didn't move, but it widened, and I think there's less of a buffer.
It
And
got
plus,
louder. It got more
I'm more
crowded.
aware of the noise than when I was a teen running around. But there was a beach area, and we swam at Silver Lake. It was, still is. I tried to get a picture of where you can see iced tea color from the, what is it, tannic acid of the cypress?
Yep, from the leaves that fall in the water.
Yeah. So my mother would say we were going to go take the Nestea plunge that, had meaning then. And yeah, the gators would just kind of lay around and watch us swim. Back in the day, they had a floating dock out there. You've not been able to swim there, I would say 35 or so years. Not to date myself, but I think a combination of the gators as well as so many different times when E. coli would get high or something, they just like, we're not going to do this expense anymore. And they've eventually transitioned to have like 3 different campgrounds in that complex there. So it's still very nice. But
well, our husky Cashmere loves going camping.
Yes. And it is weird that interstate really got so much closer.
There's Cashmere. That's not camping. That's getting comfortable at home.
Yes.
But he's a really good RVer. He fits right in and enjoys going on walks and exploring and meeting every single person at the campground and being touched by each and every one of them.
Well, mine are tidy, so tiny ones are barkers. So I'm trying to train them to ignore anyone and everyone. Because that's really the best thing for them. For us,
we didn't really plan on this being a camping special today, but it looks like everybody enjoys camping. If anybody has a lawn and garden question, feel free to just jump right in.
We have one
put it
from
in the
Gail.
chat.
We have one from Gail this morning.
Yes, Gail asks, I was wondering if it is okay to start pulling weeds, dead ones. Yes, it is always okay to pull weeds. There's no really bad time of year for it.
Right. Well, let's be clear what we are referring to. It's a great time to start controlling the weeds that you don't want. But you will hear from us. You will hear from every extension office. I've been sharing, even on my personal Facebook page, I shared a local nursery preaching the same lesson. Not that I'm touting that local nursery, but they were saying the same information. Just so you know, it's not just us. Your preferable plants that are frozen and look yucky and brown and dying. We'll go over again the many reasons why you should leave those alone. Great time to get in there and get those weeds out of there, because they're going to be pretty easy to, deal with right now, unless they're winter weeds. So if they're winter weeds, they might be the only thing actually growing, so you can see, where to pull them. Reasons we don't want you to clean up your dead, frozen, preferred plants. Reason? Well, you give a reason, Dr. Bill, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, because it's too early. Because if you trim back those freeze-damaged plants, it's going to stimulate them to start growing. And this is January 19th that we're coming to you live. And we still have the rest of January and all of February, where here in Hernando County, at least, it can get really cold. We can have more freezes and frosts.
Really? You got 2 months ahead of you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, the weather may be beautiful and warm every single day until spring, or maybe not. I don't know.
And as Bill said, you trim it back. Pruning encourages new growth. Mm-hmm. New growth is especially sensitive to freeze damage. And so you have
the entire plant may die.
And the entire plant may die because you have a plant and you take it all away because it died to the ground, and that tender new growth comes up. And then we have another freeze, whap, that tender new growth gets killed. That tender new growth was near the roots, and it could take it right down to the roots. You could end up killing the plant. Now, in these lovely, beautiful, warm phases we have between our 3-day winters,
like we have right now,
naturally, some of this stuff is going to start to regrow on its own. That old, icky looking yuck can act as a little bit of insulation for when we have another cold snap. And the other reason to keep it is let it be for the bees. A lot of our native bees are cavity nester type bees that will use these stems to either hibernate or lay eggs, various activities. So that's what we say, leave it be for the bees. Wait till spring to clean all that up. What are we going to call spring? Bill, what are we going to go with for spring? Yeah, what date are we going to go with for spring?
Corey has an idea here.
Yes,
he says he doesn't cut back until the Ides of March. What is that, March 15th?
That is March 15th.
Okay.
That is a very good plan, Corey. Always before, we could tell you there has never been a frost or freeze after March 15th in Central Florida until like the past 5 years. We've had freezes April 1st, April 3rd. So what I would say, it is catchy. Leave it be for the bees or the Ides of March. I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Probably both.
So I would say sometime between March 15th and April 5th, go ahead and start cleaning that up. It's going to be hard. It's going to be so hard. And can I make, is this true confessions here?
Sure.
I usually do start before that in some areas just because I can't stand it anymore. But now that I know about the bees, I am less likely to do that. But also just know you're taking a gamble if you're going to do it earlier. So
yeah, for the ornamentals in my yard, I usually leave it until later. I blow it off for as long as I can, since we're being honest today. But I do have a huge hibiscus by the front door that's stuffed into a little spot right next to the front door. The front door's on one side, the bathroom window's on the other side. And it's a fine spot for a small hibiscus. The problem is it grows huge. So early March, I'm going to go out there, and even if we had no freezes and no damage to it, it would have to be shortened by a lot. So I aim to prune it once. I don't go out once a month, once a year, prune it way back, and then let it grow. And by summer, it's going to be flowering again. By late summer, early fall, early winter, it's going to be huge again. Then it freezes, and that's just the cycle it goes through.
And that's fine with my wildflower garden, I haven't done anything at all. There's I had narrow leaf sunflower, which blooms right around Thanksgiving. It was beautiful. Now it's not beautiful, but you know what? The birds are going to like the seeds, as well as the seeds they don't get are going to self-spread.
Yeah.
Who goes out in the woods and prunes after freezes? Absolutely nobody. And nature takes advantage of that. There's a reason everything happens, and it's all for a use. Everything that happens in nature, nature has a use for, and we need to just allow that to occur in our garden.
And Corey makes a good point here that some things make sense once you know your plants in your yard well. Things like grasses, I'll leave longer than once a year. So last year, I have 3 huge clumps of lemongrass, and last year I went and tried to clean it out as best I could, and it did just fine. It grew over the summer, looked great. This year, I'm just going to cut it all back to the ground and let it all regrow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you said it takes a while for lemongrass to show that it was damaged.
It's starting to show that it's damaged. It's starting to look pretty brown.
Mine is too, but it's not a next day thing like a lot of our plants are.
Yeah, my hibiscus, after the weather we had around Christmas where it got down to 27, I went out there the next day. It's like, hey, it looks fine. It's like, it got to 27 last night. It can't be fine. It didn't magically stay warm somehow. So it took a few days, but yeah, it looks. I'll take a picture of it, and I'll try to remember to share it next week. It looks terrible.
Monique has a question about wax myrtle or bottle brush. Need tall, fast-growing tree hedge by my fence. Love bottle brush, but have had some that didn't seem to last. Well, if you're going to ask me a question, Monique, of whether you should get a non-native or a native, you know what my answer is going to be. So if those are my two choices, go for the wax myrtle. It's not going to give you the flowers that the bottle brush will, but it attracts a billion types of critters out there. Not a billion, but lots of birds and insects and bees. Plus, bottle brush, depending what variety you get, is finding its way to some invasive lists. Are you aware of that, Bill? Probably like where Lee or is, but I would go with the wax myrtle. That would just be my option.
Yeah, wax myrtles are going to make a better hedge because they come up. A lot of them will come up. The individual little trees die fairly quickly. They're not going to last for 20, 30 years, maybe a year or two, but they send up more. So it does turn into a good hedge. Bottle brush can have problems with nematodes. So if any of you got a bottle brush, planted it, took really good care of it, and it just didn't take, it died, bottle brush can be a little finicky that way. It either gets settled in, happy, and grows like a weed, or it dies.
Right. And I think
no in
I could be wrong, but I think the weeping one, they haven't made it to the invasive list yet, but the certain varieties of the ones that, just stick up are. So yeah, you can't go wrong if you have a choice and it is the right plant for the right place with the soil conditions and the light conditions, then do the native. Simpson stopper is a very good plan, but it might grow bigger than you're looking for. So, check into the mature height as well. Not height, width. The Simpson stopper gets pretty fat.
So, it can. If they're in a spot where they're happy, they can get very large. They flower in the spring. I have not noticed anything flowering yet, but within a month or so, the Simpson stopper and the Chickasaw plums will all be flowering. When you drive down a country road out in the country, you'll see them flowering alongside of the highway.
Yeah.
So Monique asks, where can she get it around here? Do you guys know? I rarely ever see wax myrtle sold at a nursery.
Well, go to the FANN.com, Florida Association of Native Nurseries. I think they actually have a different acronym now, but FANN, you'll find them. Thank you, Corey. He agrees with me. The Florida Association of Native Nurseries, look that up, and it will have a list of native nurseries in your area. And then you can call and see if they have them. But also look up other nurseries around you, because just because a nursery is not 100% native doesn't mean they don't have some natives. So there you go. Case in point.
Corey says that Color Country has them.
Sometimes. Yes. And up 19, there's a nursery called Anson Nursery. We're not promoting either one of those nurseries, but I know Anson does have a native section, and they were actually the ones who they talked about. They were uncovering everything with their frost cloth, but they're not going to start pruning anything. So, they seem to have a good handle on how to care for plants in a Florida-friendly manner.
Mm-hmm. But it's the kind of thing that if you go to a big box store or Walmart or Target or something like that, you're probably never going to find wax myrtle there.
No. Oh, God. If you want to go on the most depressing scavenger hunt of your life, send yourself to a big box store and look for a native plant. You will eventually find some muhly grass and maybe some dwarf Yopon hollies. That's probably it.
That's it.
Yeah. So
Corey also says that Hildreth's in Spring Hill always has a good mix of stuff, but they cycle things in and out fast. So you may want to look them up and give
what
them a
about the
call.
Master Gardener Nursery? You don't have any wax myrtles that you're aware of?
No, not that I know of.
Also, look up, Hernando County or even Citrus County Native Plant Society. I bet you they're going, one of them anyway is going to have I know her, one of them is, whichever one, one of our friends, she associates back and forth with the two. I know that she is going to be involved in a spring plant sale. So look up Hernando County's Native Plant Society, look up Citrus County's Native Plant Society on the internet and find out where their spring plant sales and when they will be, because that is a really good way of catching some good native plants that you might not catch otherwise. I know last year or the year before, our Native Plant Society had at least a small presence at the Art in the Park, which I think is in March at Tom Varn Park in Brooksville.
Yeah, I've seen that advertised recently.
Yeah, so, and I was able to buy some like Black Eye Susans and stuff. They'll have maybe 50 or so plants out there that you can pick up, And the other way I always say is to make friends with native plant people. That is how, you're going to come across the knowledge of where to find them. And, plant people love to trade plants. So that's the best ways to go to find those hard to find native plants.
And I want to remind everybody to be sure to thank Teresa for all of her hard work. Teresa is back. I'm sitting here looking at all the different links that she's sharing. Her little fingers must just be going like crazy. Everything that we mentioned, she pulls up the University of Florida fact sheet or their website and then puts it up in the chat for you guys to be able to just click on and follow. So thank you so much, Teresa.
Go back to so they can see the Native Plant Society's webpage there.
Well, I was trying to show them Monique's comment. Okay.
Another something to consider: a very large native plant nursery. And, make a day trip of it. Have fun. There's one in Groveland.
Mm-hmm.
What is Golden Isle? Is that it?
Green Isle.
Green Isle. That's what
Green Isle Native Plant Nursery in Groveland.
Yes.
So if you take 50 all the way out to Groveland and take a right on
33.
That road, 33. Go down a couple miles, it's on your right-hand side. I've been there before. They're very, very nice people.
Mm-hmm.
Very large nursery. If for some reason you needed 500 wax myrtles, let's say, they would grow them out for you. And in 6 months, when they're all ready, you can go and pick them up. So they're a fairly large commercial nursery.
They are. So you want to go on their website and find out when their days just for retail sales are, and maybe even give them a call, find out what they have before you take a ride out there. But, take some friends. When I say to take day trips to go to native plant nurseries, Groveland is fine. There's one called Wilcox Nursery.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly where it is, but I know it's, in our zone. As long as it's in zone 9A or B, you're safe. You don't want to take a trip down to Miami to buy native plants unless you're Lee.
Tropical fruit trees. Yes, we do want to go to Miami for that.
Plants native to the Miami area. You want to stay in our general region. And of course, Teresa's going to promote the Hernando County Master Gardener Nursery, and I'd go there first and rule them
out.
They are
local.
Yeah, because they're right here, and they have all kind of cool things. And if it's something very specific that you're looking for and they don't have it, then you can move on, but check there first.
So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I got 2 pictures this past week that I held on to. Um, Here we go. This one, Lee, and I'm not sure if Lee is on today or not. She hasn't commented. Let me move to one side or the other. Lee sent a picture of her vegetable garden,
That
and
is
I see broccoli there,
rich.
cabbage, and she lives down in Broward County, so she has not gotten any real freeze damage.
That is a
But
pretty vegetable garden.
mhm,
I like that. Is that pine needles she's using for mulch?
yes,
Very nice. Very pretty. Well,
and
also down in South Florida where she is she down far enough to have that muck from the Lake Okeechobee?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how close to the coast she is or how far inland.
Yeah, inland.
Uh,
That's why that's an area where there's so many vegetables and stuff grown for the nation. Because unfortunately, when they drained the Everglades, the Everglades used to be like everything from what Fort Lauderdale town, pretty much.
yeah,
They drained most of it, so the people who live there now have lake muck as their soil. So you think Florida, there's not great soil, but just in that pocket, there really is wonderful soil. Now you get closer to the coast, maybe further down, then you're on like rock hard coral, and then you have different issues.
yeah, soils are very, very different down in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're inland, if you're in Lake Okeechobee or old Everglades area, it's all muck soil,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty much all organic matter. And if you've ever driven through there, we've driven the back way coming out of Miami, heading north and heading up the center of the state. Eventually, we go over to 75 and then come home that way. But it's much more scenic to
Through
go
Alligator
kind of the back
Island.
roads. You drive past the farms where they grow sugarcane, things like that. The soil is 100%. The soil is this color.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the soil looks like alongside of the road. Not this part. That is what it looks like. And I'm driving along and I'm thinking, honey, damn, I wish I had like a shovel and a bucket in the back of our car. Can I whip off to the side of the road? Just take a bucket of it home to work it into my garden because it's pure ancient organic matter. But if you move closer to the coast or further down, like Miami, Homestead, it's all the marl soil down there where it's all limestone rock and this weird kind of sticky clay that holds it all together. pH of 8.5. If you live in Homestead, you don't even need a soil test. Your pH is 8.5. Guaranteed. 8.5. It doesn't vary because it's pure limestone pretty much. Either boulders or little rocks or tiny rocks or ground up rocks. It's all limestone that you're growing in. So it gets kind of unusual there.
Back to Native Nurseries. I didn't know if Hickory Hill was still open.
I don't know. Haven't heard anything about them in a number of years.
They are. Check it out anyway. They're on Hickory Hill Road. Corey, now has anyone ever in their life driven past the sign for Yeehaw Junction and not said Yeehaw Junction? Have you ever done that?
No, I always have.
Yes. But yes, he's right. Below, south of there. Okay. South of Yeehaw Junction.
And last week we did a class that had a very, very good attendance. A lot of people signed up for it because it was a topic that people have been requesting for a while, and I finally got around to finding a good speaker. It was on vermicomposting. Do you know what that is?
Vermicomposting. It's worms. You were talking about worms.
Yes, it's composting with worms, not verms. If you have a strange accent, maybe it is verms. So that's fine.
Well, you said vermicomposting, yes.
But it is raising worms to compost materials, and then you take that to aid in your plants growing. Or, if you really, really like freshwater fishing, maybe you just want to raise worms for fish bait. That's good too.
Red wigglers. You see the signs for red wigglers right along Yeehaw Junction.
But one of the people who signed up for it emailed and sent me a picture of some socks that she got for Christmas. So this is her Christmas gift. So she digs dirt and little worms on there. And Lily was going to look that up on Amazon
I want
to
those
see if
socks.
she could find a link for socks just like that.
I want
Those,
those socks.
that's
Yeah.
gardening socks right there.
So why did you have to do a separate class on vermiculture? Why can we not grow worms in the regular composting bins that we pass out from solid waste?
Composting and raising worms are kind of different. So worms, you have to, number one, get there's only a few varieties of worms that you can actually raise. There's 1,000 species of worms, but most of them aren't really good for raising in some kind of container, and you're going to manage it totally different than you would a compost bin. So even though some of the materials are the same, you could throw it in a compost bin, you could throw it in your worm bin. Compost bins, if you get the mixture of ingredients right, it's going to get hot. You don't want to get the worms hot. We want to raise worms, not cook worms. Technically, you're cooking compost because you're raising bacteria. So, compost, you're raising bacteria. Worms, you're raising worms. So it is, even though there is a little bit of overlap and similarities, it is different. And it was a great class. I sent it to our videographer, John, yesterday, and he opened the link this morning. So we will have that on our Facebook page soon and on our Hernando County Government YouTube channel soon if you missed it. And I can even show.
And we are having a rain barrel and compost bin workshop this coming Saturday for Hernando County residents. I still have spaces open, so if you'd like to join, you can come just for the compost bin, which is free, one per household, or also a rain barrel, which is $65, which if you're a customer of Hernando County Utilities, you will get a $30 credit on your water bill for getting a rain barrel. But we're having both of those. You can choose one or the other or both. Saturday, the 21st, when you're having Arbor Day, we're having conflicting events at the same time.
Yeah.
Complementing events at the same time. My event will be at the Thicket Hammock Preserve here in Hernando County. So for those of you who are way up in the Royal Highlands, like where I live, this is a time, it's right on Centralia, to come out and have this outdoor compost workshop with Carmen Bruno from Hernando County Utilities, because Bill will be busy at the Arbor Day celebration at the nursery. If you want to get a compost bin and a tree, then strategize and have one person come go to the other. And but at 10 o'clock. So if you're interested in that, we still have spaces. So email me, and Bill can show my email. That's the way that you sign up. So there we go.
And there is Lily's email right there.
LilyB@HernandoCounty.us. Don't just show up. We have to know to bring the stuff out there, how many to bring. So please email me, and I'll just ask, and send me your address, and let me know if you want just the compost bin or a rain barrel or both. And we have a Facebook user who is late and is fumbling over the keyboard, apparently, but welcome. So,
and
yeah.
Corey, when he mentioned Yeehaw Junction heading down south, he said he had to drive down there. He was amazed at how much we dug canals, drained, and how many invasive plants are along the road.
Oh, yeah, Brazilian pepper like crazy.
Yeah. And it should still have the berries on it now. It should be near the end of berry season.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
So if you drive down I-75 heading south, once you get down to Hillsborough County, look alongside of the road, all the little red dots that you see on all the trees is all Brazilian pepper.
I have a snowbird sister who stays in Port St. Lucie in the winter, and when I go down, the turnpike to visit her,
Mm-hmm.
it's just Brazilian pepper, a wall of Brazilian pepper all the way down.
Yeah, here in Hernando County, we have some, not nearly as much. We're kind of more closer to the edge
There's a
of
good
where it can
amount in
grow.
Hernando Beach. There's a good amount, to spend a little bit of time in Hernando Beach. We have Hernando County Utilities owns this right by the water tower.
Mm-hmm.
There's a plot of land that we use as a pit, not a pit as I don't mean an indentation. I mean a place where you
Dump
dump
stuff.
stuff.
It's a storage area.
There you go, like gravel or there's a bunch of old culverts out there. It's cement culverts.
Uh-huh.
It's really cool. But I know in your office, Brittany Hall Scharf, and she brought along Carrie Harmon from the University of Florida, who's an entomologist, correct?
No, Carrie Harmon runs the plant disease clinic.
Okay.
It's
Well, somehow they got involved in this Brazilian pepper thrips program. So I was invited out there to watch the releasing of, they had released them, and I was invited out there to let them back in. See, here's the real reason I was invited out there.
You had the key.
I have a key. To release some more and see, what those thrips were doing. These are thrips that supposedly, they do been proven to munch on Brazilian pepper and nothing else. Don't get freaked out that it's the next invasive insect. How do they go about the vetting process for that and like the air potato beetle and things, Bill?
They put it through years of testing before they're given a permit to be able to release them.
Years and years, like 10 sometimes.
Yeah. So for any biological control, it goes through a series of host testing to find out what plants it will and will not feed on.
They will test everything. First they'll go to where the native range where this plant, which is a pest here, grows. And they'll say, what's eating it in its native range? And they'll find that particular, insect or whatever. Then they start testing, will it eat a close relative of this plant? Then, will it, and they go from there, and then they'll throw in, even if it has nothing to do with what the insect has shown to eat, they're going to throw in important cash crops to the United States, such as soy and cotton and corn and things like that, to make sure that they do not eat that. And people will say, you're going to tell me this insect will die, rather than eat something else? Yes.
Yep, it will.
Yes. That, and like the air potato beetle does not eradicate air potato. The species aren't built like that, but they will control it. So.
Yes, it's just a part of the solution.
Right.
And if you ever want more information on air potato beetles, how to control them, we still have our program, the Air Potato Patrol, going. You can go to airpotatobeetle.com, and I will be updating the teaching videos on there. Something that's on my schedule for like in a week or two, because they're a little old. Time to update them.
And I neglected to say everyone who was out at our thrips project, Dr. Strickland, who's now the CED, County Extension Director at Osceola County. He was out there because he knows how to run the drones. And he was mapping with a drone the Brazilian pepper. So, it can be used later for comparison.
Yeah, Cindy down in Pinellas County says that where she lives, the HOA management made people cut it down on their property.
Here too, but there are two. There's invasive plants everywhere, but only 2 in Hernando County are plants that you actually have to have removed from your property, that being Brazilian pepper and white lead tree, both of them mostly coastal plants. So yeah, we have a bunch of it on that county property, but that's kind of why we are experimenting with these thrips, on it, as well as we asked the residents of Hernando Beach or whoever happens to have it that you have to have these trees removed. And Bill knows about the entire process of doing that.
Yeah.
I know then the county has a certain amount of funds to go out and remove it from the right of way. So, each year, bit by bit. So,
But then you also have alongside of the roads, and you have swift mud property, and you
right.
have just open property. And then not so much here in Hernando, but if you go a little bit north off of Citrus County, they have a lot of islands there.
Yeah.
So who is responsible for cutting down the invasive trees on those islands? And they go, well, whose island is it? It's the state's island. Well, you can ask the state to deal with it. Maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't. Because I know a company that was contracted, and I don't know if it was by the state or by Citrus County. They had to go by boat to those little islands, hop off the boat, and then cut down and spray the stumps of Brazilian pepper out there. And I'm not sure who paid them to do it, but they were paid to do it.
Getting rid of Brazilian pepper does not mean getting a chainsaw and going about your day. That's not how it works at all, is it? And you have trained people, you have trained companies to.
Yes, because if you have a Brazilian pepper tree and you take a saw, chainsaw, whatever it might be, cut it down at ground level and figure that you're done, that just makes it angry. It's going to grow right back, but it's going to send up 10 sprouts instead of just one. You have to cut it off the ground level and spray it with a concentrated solution of herbicide to be sucked back into the roots and kill it. Otherwise, it'll come right back. So Corey said that we should have chain gangs take care of it.
And
if you don't spray it, it's just a never-ending problem. You're never going to get rid of it. You're just going to keep knocking it back, and it'll come back bigger and better.
You need to have a license for that spray, especially near the water. So that
sure, we worked
out with Corey's plan. But for businesses, there's at least one business. You thought this was a fantastic business model that will sell you like a contract, almost like a termite one, but for Brazilian pepper, meaning they'll take them down, but they'll come out every year and get all the little seedlings that are bound to come up. So.
And that way, the county code enforcement won't be sending you, door hangers or nasty letters or whatever. You have your service keeping it under control, and that way it's not going to be a problem. That'll probably be great for people who don't live here most of the time, people who rent their place out. It's not lived in the majority of the year. So we got a couple questions on here.
You've got some that you skipped.
We just haven't gotten to them yet.
All right.
So we have somebody ask, can I put red wigglers in a raised bed? My raised bed has an open bottom, and the bottom is on top of ground cover. I no longer grow in the ground containers only, which sits on the ground cover to deter weeding. Thanks. You can try, but they're probably not going to do very well or survive. Worms need to be able to move around freely to feed. If you watch the recording of the vermicomposting class that we did, I think that question was addressed. And if you have, let's say, a vegetable garden like I do, and if you keep making compost and adding compost, after a couple years, one day you're going to be out digging in your garden and you notice, hey, I have worms, because you have a rich enough soil to support worms. If you have a very, very sandy soil, my guess is you have no worms, because they don't like extremely sandy soil. My garden is getting to the point where I have some worms out there.
I think saying my garden has worms is a better way of stating that.
Yeah, but it takes time because I could walk out in front of the office here and start digging, and I won't find a worm anywhere. Pure sand out there. But if you build up the soil, the worms will magically come.
Somehow they find it, yes.
Yeah.
It's not like when you're walking around up north and every time it rains, there's worms on the sidewalk, or anytime you put your hand in the dirt, you're going to find a worm. But you're right, magically, you get the right conditions, they're around enough that they'll show up, that they're attracted to that really good soil.
Because worms are all over, generally up north. I'm sure there's certain soil conditions that they don't prefer, but as a general rule, you're going to find them far and wide up north. Here, you only find them in really fairly rich soil with a good amount of organic matter.
Mm-hmm. So be happy when you find one.
So we also got asked about, can I house my tea in a bucket and aerator to extend the life of my vermicompost tea? Generally, if you're making a tea type solution out of the vermicompost, you want to use it pretty quickly. Things like that. You can use an aerator to keep air in it. Think aquarium, and you're going to really accentuate the aerobic bacteria in it. But it's the kind of thing that's going to get fairly rancid fairly quick. So you can't take it, put it into a empty gallon milk jug and save it for 6 months. You wouldn't want to open that jar.
I've done that. It was gross. My husband forbade me from doing it again.
And we got a question about cherry tomatoes. You say they're looking good. How long do I have before they stop producing? I got tons of tomatoes, so many I can feed the world. That's great.
They might not stop producing.
No, they will. They will about June 1st or so, when summer gets here.
I mean, they'll slow down in the summer, but that's the one type of tomato that people will tell you, oh, mine lasted all summer long, depending on where it's located. But generally, tomatoes don't do great at all in the summer here, but people push at least their cherry tomatoes, at least into July sometimes.
Yeah, you will hit a point during the summer where your tomatoes, I don't care if they're cherry tomatoes, Romas, whatever, will eventually take a dive. They will have a lot of insect problems. They'll have a lot of disease problems. And it's time to kind of cut your losses and grow okra in the heat of summer and then do tomatoes again in the fall. Tomatoes are generally only grown for several months, and then they're done. They go away. We're going to plant fresh plants.
So even with cherry tomatoes, just like a regular beefsteak or something, you just throw that whole plant away. You do the same with the cherry tomatoes, or can you limp it through the summer and it can start blooming or producing again when it's cool?
Yeah, because they do not give out awards for keeping your tomato or pepper plant alive for 10 years, and it's not going to work. It's
okay.
They don't give awards for that. It starts to take, because most people, when the plant starts to decline badly, they just use a lot more water, fertilizer, insecticides, herbicide, or fungicides on it, and it's a lost cause. So
compost pile. Compost
start
pile.
Fresh.
Unless it becomes really diseased or insect ridden, then throw it away, but otherwise just compost it.
Yeah, because I have my tomato seedlings up and growing, and they will hopefully all continue to grow. I'll get them out in the garden late February, early March. We'll see what the weather's kind of looking like. Hopefully they'll grow, do well. After maybe June 1st, they will all be gone. None of them will be on my property anymore because it'll be time for them to go away. All my beds will be filled with, this summer we're going to do sweet potatoes. We're going to do calabaza again. I'm going to try Seminole pumpkin. I got some seeds for it. I've never grown that. It's supposed to do well in the heat of summer, and there is a variety of pumpkin that was developed by University of Georgia. Bulldog pumpkin or something like that. And they are supposed to do really well in the heat of summer. So that's what I'm growing this summer. Not tomatoes. The tomatoes have until June 1st to either give me a ton of tomatoes or not. Depends on how much time and effort I put into it. The more time and effort, the more tomatoes. If I totally blow them off, maybe not so many tomatoes. But then after that, those tomatoes are gone. We've moved on to something else.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Corey says about the first or second week of June, if your garden's in a sunny spot, it's going to be kind of like a switch. Part of it is you start getting the frequent rains. Part of it is the humidity is 100% day and night.
Sure.
For the rest of summer until the next winter. So for a lot of different reasons, tomatoes are just not going to do well.
And once it stays above 70 at night, it will abort its flowers. So you're not going to get tomatoes. So.
And we got a good question here. Where can I get calabaza? Well, you can get calabaza right here. Not today, but this kind of forces me to pull it together for next week. Lily, you going to be here next week?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
I do work.
Am I going to be here next week? Hey, I'm going to be here next week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull together my calabaza seeds, and we will have I don't know what you want to call it, contest, offering, special. But starting next week, if you're kind enough to go ahead and take our survey, which I know a number of you have, but if you take the survey or have taken the survey, starting next week, if you email me with your address, we'll go ahead and mail you, I guess, like either 5 or 10 calabaza seeds. And I do have little envelopes like this. We'll throw them in an envelope.
What does calabaza look like? And what do you do with it? How do you prepare it to eat it? What does it taste like? What is
Calabaza is also known as Cuban pumpkin. So it's a winter squash because pumpkin is a winter squash also. And butternut and acorn, they're all winter squashes. They're big, hard squashes that if you pick them and keep them in a cool, dry place, they last for a long time. You could store them. You could put them in your root cellar. None of us have root cellars. I don't.
Like, where is this root cellar at?
In Pennsylvania, they have root cellars. They don't have them here. But calabaza is a good storage squash. And if you look online, I know that this has come up before. There's a lot of recipes on there about you can peel it and take the chunks of squash, cut it up into little chunks, and roast it with hot peppers and onion and some other things. And you have to have cilantro. You have to have lots of garlic, olive oil, and it's a really fantastic Cuban dish that we need to talk about when we do our cooking recipe special, I guess. And yes, I believe it is the species name is moschata. That's different individual species of winter squash, because the more common ones like butternut squash, acorn squash, spaghetti squash, if you're familiar with them, they are really hard to grow down here in Florida. They are disease magnets. When you buy them at the grocery store, they've almost always been grown somewhere up north. They grow a ton of them in Michigan, way up north. They grow them all summer long, pick them in the fall, and you could buy them in the grocery stores for a decent price in the fall, right? They weren't grown here in Florida because they don't do really well. But there are some winter squashes that do well here. Calabaza is one. Seminole pumpkin, which the Seminole Indians grew here. Chazawitzka in native language means pumpkins or hanging pumpkins. It's a vine, and it gets round squash that looks like a pumpkin if you've ever grown it before. So, yeah, Corey points out that Seminole pumpkin is the same species, but it's a different variety. They look similar, but not exactly the same. And there
Okay.
are a few other squash around the world that can be grown in Florida in the heat of summer, and they don't die from diseases. They do very, very well with the diseases that I still have yet to field trial and try.
Do you see Gail has a question about turmeric?
Yes.
Yes.
So Gail asked, a friend of mine gave me some turmeric root or turmeric, either way, to try growing. Should I try to start them indoors first? Sure. It does really well in a pot. So you can take the root, and the same goes for ginger. Start it in a small pot, put it in a larger pot, and you can either grow it in a container outside during the summer or in the ground, but it needs to be in a partly shady spot.
What if you attended a program about ginger and turmeric, and they were in pots, and you forgot to bring them in? Asking
Like
for
I
a
did.
friend.
Both turmeric and ginger are going to die back in the winter here. Totally normal, totally natural. During the winter, they completely die back. And then in the spring, you can just cut all that dead foliage at ground level, and it will start to shoot up new leaves if it survived the winter. So I have a bunch in pots with dead foliage. It sounds like you have the same. So we will find out this spring if they survived and send up new growth or not.
Okay.
Hopefully yours did and mine did, but I'm not going to make any guarantees yet. We're going to find out together.
Yes. I'm glad you did the same thing.
Oh, and somebody asked about calabaza as a soup. Sure,
Why not?
you can use it as a soup. And do you need a lot of space to grow calabaza? Yes, you do.
It spreads like a vine. Oh.
Let me see if I have that picture uploaded here or not. No, I don't. Hold on a second. Lily, why don't you start showing our emails and stuff, and let me get my pictures of when I grew calabaza this past summer.
Okay. The most important email to be seen is if you have any follow-up questions for Dr. Bill, make sure that they are really, really challenging, difficult questions. Those go
What?
to
No. You get the hard ones.
wester@ufl.edu to find out about lists of classes, Bill's and mine. You see scrolling across the bottom, www.hernandoextension.com. Here is my email again if you have any questions for me or if you want to attend that compost and rain barrel workshop. Lily D, 2 L's in the middle. That's where people, get bounce backs when they don't put those 2 L's in the middle at hernandocounty.us. I'll be glad to help you with any questions that you have. I will show you the Master Gardener Nursery here in Hernando County once again. If you attended Bill's Arbor Day celebration and need to pick up your tree, or if you plan, you already have everyone signed up, correct?
Yes, all the trees are already spoken for.
So,
but they have plenty of plants for sale. So please stop by the nursery either Wednesday or Saturday.
And Wednesday you'll be picking up your Arbor Day tree. What kind of trees are you giving them?
Oh gosh, you had to ask me.
You had told me.
Rusty Lyonia.
Okay, cool.
Which is a native plant.
It is.
A native large shrub, small tree, kind of in between the two.
Okay. Did you find your picture yet?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Here, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So This is what, let me go back in pictures here. This is what a calabasa, a small one, looks like after it's formed on the plant, and then it will continue growing. And when you pick them, that's what they look like. And you can see all
Whoa.
those vines.
Did
The
you grow
vines
that?
filled half my backyard.
You grew that?
Yep.
Wow, that's a lot of squash.
I got 4 of them, and it added up to a grand total of about 83 pounds of squash between the 4 of them.
You need a root cellar.
And that's what the vines look like when they really get up.
Oh my
and going.
gosh. You didn't tell me it took up most of your yard. Wow.
And sweet potatoes do the same thing. So if I plant it right, I won't have to cut the grass in the backyard for the entire summer because I won't be able to get to it.
Corey knows the name of the ones in Georgia. Orange dog.
Yep.
Orange bulldog.
Orange bulldog. Whoop. And I did.
Stop.
Stop it. Corey said his friend grew the University of Georgia orange bulldog pumpkins, and they were amazing through the summer. He just planted them a little late for Halloween. I would grow them to eat because I enjoy eating pumpkin, and you have to grow, the big pumpkins that you get for carving aren't that great for eating. Pie pumpkins that you buy at the grocery store in the fall for making pumpkin pies, I think it's better as a side vegetable with dinner. And the orange bulldog pumpkins I would grow to eat, not so much to carve.
So these pumpkins that you're growing, we hear a lot about how good pumpkin is for dogs. Would you so the pumpkins that you're growing, you can add into, like a treat for your dog or into their dog food, or have the same benefit?
Yeah, well, the University of Georgia ones are an actual pumpkin.
Okay.
They're not the prettiest pumpkins. They tend to be a little kind of lopsided and misshapen. Think about the stereotype perfect round pumpkin that you carve up for Halloween.
Yeah.
These don't really look like that. But you can grow them here in Florida, and they will not all die from diseases like other pumpkins do.
Yeah, and really, if you're new to Florida, and you have kids or grandkids, here's a tip. Paint that pumpkin. Use a Sharpie on that pumpkin. Do not carve into that pumpkin, especially like at the beginning of October. It'll be long gone before Halloween. Yeah, don't cut into it in our weather and put it outside. It's going to be one slimy looking thing. So Floridians paint their pumpkins. They don't carve them.
Hey, with prices the way they are, I don't think I could afford to go out there and buy pumpkin and just carve it up and throw it away.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do something with it. We need to eat that. We need to put it on the dinner table. But going back to turmeric, Facebook user says they harvest 5 pounds of turmeric. Yeah, you can grow turmeric and ginger in Florida on your own. They are doing a lot of research on growing them in greenhouses commercially.
Is your class
it's a viable commercial crop.
The class you did on both of those things, is it on YouTube?
Yes, I'm almost positive it is on the Hernando County YouTube channel. Just another reason to go and check out our videos on Hernando County Government's YouTube. And Lily has
102.
Oh my gosh.
YouTube videos on Hernando County Government YouTube. All the Lily anyone could ever possibly want, and much, much more. The great thing about watching them on YouTube, we love when you watch them live. That's great. It makes us feel like we're talking to somebody in the camera there. Although I can talk to nobody just fine.
I do it.
Yeah, I know you're going to listen later. But you can fast forward through the boring parts. So, that is good too. If you want to fall down the Florida-friendly landscaping rabbit hole, please be my guest and be sure to like and subscribe.
Yes, please don't forget to like and subscribe. For anybody watching us on YouTube, be sure to like this virtual plant clinic and subscribe to our channel and click the little bell. That way you're notified every week when I go ahead and schedule the next virtual plant clinic, which is almost every week. You know, every once in a while, the two of us just get called out of town, or we're
Yeah.
busy, or we're taking the day off, or we're both on vacation. And we can't do
staggered
that.
our vacation this time, so it worked out well.
But it's pretty rare. We're almost always here, guys. And do you know what April 1st is?
It's a Saturday.
No. Let's see. What is the closest Thursday to that?
Then that would be March 29th.
I even have it on my schedule. March 30th.
Okay.
Thursday, March 30th is going to be our 3-year anniversary special.
They've listened to us talk for 3 years, Bill.
I know.
What's wrong with that?
Some of these people have been on here literally the entire time. So
it makes every Thursday great. I get up on Thursdays very much looking forward to knowing it's going to be Virtual Plant Day.
And we are going to plan a special show. I don't know exactly what we're doing yet, but it's going to be really special.
Somehow Corey's a 5-year fan.
I don't think we've been doing this quite 5 years, but I know that the Virtual Plant Clinic goes back 3 years to the very, very beginnings of COVID, when they all emailed us and said, go home. And
no, we were doing this. You had the idea before COVID. I think you had the idea before COVID, and it just really, COVID provided more of an opportunity to make it really take off.
Yeah, because we initially started it with Zoom, and then transitioned onto StreamYard, which StreamYard is absolutely fantastic. I need to use StreamYard a lot more. That way we can engage everybody, and we can show your comments.
You got permission to use StreamYard after what, 1.5 years of?
Yeah, it took me 8 months to get permission from University of Florida to be able to use it, because they have to look over software to make sure it's not, you know, the Chinese aren't infiltrating our system or anything. Yeah, 8 months. Cindy's a 3-year fan.
Yes, she is. Yeah, she's been around. Buddy probably is. I don't know where he is today, unless he's hiding back. Maybe he froze up there in Tallahassee.
That could be. And who was the gentleman from Michigan up in Ann Arbor?
Austin
Fulweiler.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
From the nursery in Wisconsin.
So we're nationwide.
Yes, we are. And we have.
And Corey probably just liked our page 5 years ago. So, you know, we've been working very, very hard with social media and utilizing it to get our information to more and more people, to let everybody know that who we are and where we at, and here we are, and tune in. So we've been doing that. I've been with Extension a little bit over 9 years, so I've been working on it the whole time. So yeah, Thursday, March 30th. Put it on your calendar. Be sure to tune in. I know one thing that we're going to do is we're going to invite people on the show with us. So if you have a camera and you have a microphone, so as we can see you and we can hear you, I'll send you, and you email me, I'll send you the link, and we'll put you on here with us. I can have 10 people on the screen all at once, and I think a few more in the waiting room.
Cool.
So that'll be fun. We get to, because so many people who've been with us for so long.
We have to imagine what you look like. You get to see us.
Sure. We know your little icon. So like Cindy, I see the little icon there, but you know, we've never met Cindy before. We've never met We never met Austin.
Well, that's true. Or Corey. I've met Monique. She's been at in-person events. So
Yeah, a few of you we've met at the Master Gardener Nursery, tree giveaways, plant giveaways, other classes, everything's. So thank you. We try very hard on social media. It's hard to keep on top of. Your phone. Yeah, you can do StreamYard on your phone. Your phone, if you email me on that day, I'll send you the link for that day. You click on the link and you can appear by way of your phone.
And there's no reason really that you have to see our faces. So podcast, this goes to certain podcasts, doesn't it? Or you can pretend
Yes.
it's a podcast, just play play the video on your phone and, hook it up to your car, listen to us while you're driving.
Yes, and in the past, I have uploaded the audio from the virtual plant clinics as a podcast.
Mhm.
So I think we have a link for that also. I need to clean up my links. It's hard to find what I'm looking for. There we go. So if you go to anchor.fm/William-J-Lester, that's where you're going to find our podcast. I can start uploading them as the full video. So I'm not sure how that works for the end user. I guess they can go and either watch us or listen, or one or the other.
Okay.
They could watch and just turn the video off if you want to do
That
that.
would be so exciting.
So, however it's most convenient for you. Guys, we're trying to, help you out here and create all of our things so that you can join in live. You can watch it later. You can watch all 102 of Lily's classes in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning in your
They
jeans,
are fantastic
after
sleep
brunch,
aids.
whatever you want to do.
Yes, they are fantastic sleep aids.
Guaranteed to put you to sleep.
Although Bill also is, for that year, we both worked from home and started this online presence. My two puppies got very used to hearing his voice. So sometimes if I'm leaving and I need to keep them calm, I will put on one of his classes so they get to hear him and it keeps them calm. See, you didn't know what all the useful purposes you served. My dogs know more about gardening than any other dogs out there.
Yeah.
And they still won't do a thing to help. Not a thing.
Yeah, and I would have all 3 dogs all stuffed in the office with both me and my wife working all day long.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's after 11, Dr. Lester, so we probably should wrap this up.
Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and tell everybody thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to come back next Thursday at 10 a.m. and we'll go ahead and do it again. If you have any questions, you can email me in advance. That way I'll have the picture all uploaded and ready to share, and we'll answer your questions. One last question from Corey here. What to plant right now for vegetables?
No, he's saying that we should add that every week.
On that. And poop every show. So you can tell Corey's been watching us for a while.
And we did not bring up poop now until you did, Corey. So, one more question about a pallet. Answer this and then we'll need to go.
Okay, we'll have a vegetable garden update next week about what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing just yet. And I'll show all the different pictures from what's going on in my vegetable garden. And
Cool.
one last quick question. I'm making a pallet compost bin raised off the ground. How long will it last outside? The pallet wood is free. Couple years. I had one once before. The wood started to seriously rot after 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Even treated wood, that just means it's going to last 4 years.
Right, yes.
It helps.
Possibly seep stuff into the ground that you don't want. So just make sure the pallets are untreated, which, I think 99.9% of pallets are untreated. And
yeah.
just do new pallets when those start to rot away.
Yeah, anything like a wooden compost bin or wooden stakes in the ground are going to rot. You're going to get a couple years out of it. So they say they use cedar, add another year or two to it. Any kind of wood, it's only temporary out in the environment. Something is going to eat it. If nothing else, the wet soil is going to make it rot.
In Florida, the environment, as if you've ever attended any of the compost classes that Dr. Bill teaches, we don't have permafrost where things freeze and take a winter's nap. All our bacteria are working 24/7, eating, doing its thing. So that's why, things rot faster here. That's why you can't carve a pumpkin on October 1st and expect it to look good for Halloween, because it's also going to be 95 degrees. So
that's why we can't have nice things out in our yard, right? Because if it's wood, it's going to rot.
Intentional and different about how you can have nice things.
If it's plastic and PVC, it's going to burn up in the sun eventually.
Yeah. Yes.
If it's metal, it's going to rust.
Yes.
Sorry.
My Pennsylvania sister got me a big old metal star because I would always make comments that like every fifth house in Pennsylvania has these big metal stars on them. So she got me one, and it's inside in my kitchen, on a real high wall, because I told her I just can't put it on the house. All I imagine is the metal just rusting down the house.
Sorry, we're not trying to be tough here, but
we've lived here a long time. We know how it is.
So even if you have raised beds made out of cedar that are very expensive, if it's sitting on the ground, or really if it's outdoors exposed to the elements, it's going to eventually break down. You can take steps to slow it. You can paint it with some kind of treatment that's going to add time to its usable life. If it's set where it's not buried in the ground, that helps. If it's on the ground but you have some kind of barrier between the wood and the actual dirt or sand, that helps also. In raised beds, if you line the inside with plastic to keep the wet soil on the side, picture raised bed soil. If the wet soil is up against the sides, that's going to make it break down and rot faster. So there's things you could do to slow it down, but there's nothing we could do to stop it. It might last for a number of years, and hopefully it will, where it's still good enough to be functional. But if we come back and look at it in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or longer,
they won't exist in 20 years. Sorry.
Nothing lasts forever in Florida. Maybe things made out of stone. Stone houses tend to last for 100 or more years. Still, it's a rough world out there in your backyard.
Yes.
So with that, guys, everybody have a great week. We'll see all of you hopefully back here again next Thursday. We'll talk a little bit about vegetable gardens and updates, and any pictures that people send me, we'll share. I'll throw in some pictures of my dogs also, just for good measure. And until then, we'll see you next week. See you then.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye.